you have to stop. You are destroying nature left, right, and center. Correct? So we are not supposed to say we have to say plant a lot of trees, grow trees, improve the green belt, improve the animal belt, and help the animals to also to have their own kingdom. Don't destroy that kingdom. And so, as a mark of respect, what we do is we feed the domesticated animals. So, an individual will not be able to go to Sahara and then help a lion. If he doesn't go there, it's a great help. Right? You can't do it. So, there are many animals, which animals, birds, insects are domesticated. They are all living within us, right? Among us.
Okay.
So, like for instance, the in some place, maybe was it in Australia? There were a lot of bats. So they treated the bats to be a menace. And then the bats are owls, like one of these. So they grow away. After they grow away this, one of this, they found the agriculture they produce is not giving the proper yield.
Okay.
Bats. They were not giving proper yield. Then when they investigated further, they found there is one particular pest which comes on this, which is consumed by the bats. So that pest could not be controlled. The pest could not be controlled, and the pest became a menace, much more bigger menace than the bats themselves. After that, what did they do? They created special bat holes where the bats can go and live. So that was Bhuta. So they did Bhuta destruction followed by Bhuta construction. Say forest fires. If we cause forest fires, it leads to a great disbalance. Correct? Now, a lot of violence happens. Okay. A lot of violence happens. Yeah. In all our centers, we will have within our own monastic unit, we will have special prayers, meditation. Yeah. Start till end. I think it starts at this 9:53 to 1:57. 1:57 in Bengal. See, we have different zones, time zones, but we don't honor them. Pitri Yajna is the ancestors who have left. See, the belief is that they continue to live and they continue to take out a journey into the Pitruloka, for which they require pinda. So that pindadana is very ritualistically offered to them in the Shraddha ceremony. Shraddha and Tarpana ceremonies. So that is Pitri. It's not they are not going to do anything to you. That is one yajna. In fact, all of these yajnas, we don't have any direct benefit out of that. That's why it goes in the name of yajna. Yajna is any activity that you engage without looking for selfish returns. So in all these 5 Panchamahayajna, you are not supposed to look for selfish returns. You will not get at all. Immediately you will not get. Maybe its cumulative effect will be felt years later, and it may not even be, you cannot even articulate it, it's the exact cause-effect relationship. I did this, I got this, you will not be able to say. So it's much driven by faith. All of you be relaxed and sit cross-legged if possible. Take deep breaths as much as you can release your tension. Let the muscles relax, let the nerves relax, and the posture be balanced. Imagine a huge lake in front of you. The thoughts arising in the mind are the waves on the lake. The waves are going away, the thoughts are flowing away. Don't follow the thoughts, just observe going. The big lotus blooms in the lake. On that is seated your Ishtadevata, the dear deity. He is full of bliss, he is full of light, he is full of knowledge, and is drenched in compassion. He is full of strength,
and is full of blessings. No stain attaches him, no weakness approaches him. He approaches slowly and takes the seat of the lotus of your heart. We salute at his lotus feet. He touches our forehead, transferring all the bliss that he has, all the knowledge that he has, all the light that he has. We are now very form of light, very form of bliss, and the very form of knowledge, identified with our Ishta. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Hari Om. Sahana Bhavatu, Sahanau Bhunaktu, Sahaviryankaravavahe, Tejasvinavadhitamastu ma vidvishavahe. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Namah Shri Yatirajaya Vivekananda Suraye Satchit Sukhaswarupaya Swamine Tapaharini. So welcome to this Sunday class. Vivekananda Study Circle, all of you. Happy to be amidst all of you. I see quite a few new faces, possibly for the first time. So we are well poised in the discussion on Karma Yoga, the third chapter of the Bhagavad Gita. But due to the paucity of time, or rather because of maybe misunderstanding of this course, I went a little fast in dealing with Karma Yoga. So I would like to briefly retract the steps and look at some shlokas which require some spotlight. So we all know that Sri Krishna gave the highest proposition to Arjuna, because if Arjuna would have been awakened enough, the further 700 or rather 600 shlokas would not have been required. But fortunately, to our benefit, Arjuna was not that as wise. So he required the remaining lectures. But the essence of the Gita has all been communicated in the second chapter of the Gita. Quite often, there are commentators who restrict themselves to commenting only on the second and third at max. So now, in the third chapter, in the discipline of Karma Yoga, comes not as a substitute of Jnana Yoga, which was there in the second chapter, but comes as a facilitating mechanism, so that a person will be able to approach the same Jnana Yoga, ideas of Jnana Yoga, through an alternate route. You see, you take a square peg, okay, a square pole, and you have a round hole. Now, however you try to fix the square peg in a round hole, you will find that the fit is not strong enough. It's not stable enough. There will be always something dangling. Right? You won't get a stable fit. So likewise, we have to find out the right peg given the hole. The hole is our personality. It's not that the round peg is superior to the square peg. Both the pegs are meant for arresting the movement and having a firm grasp on the ground. But it's just that it depends on the shape of the hole. Likewise, so the one is not superior to the other. Later on, Krishna also uses the same language, that the Shreyaha word will be used to superiority, but should be understood in the sense that whatever is fitting to our psyche, our personality, we have to take that, and that's where lies our wisdom and our future growth. So Sri Krishna symbolizes the entire human hankering, human learning, and the human needs, the wants, into the frame of Arjuna. So Arjuna seems to be possessing an insatiable hunger to know the variety of ways to conquer his own weaknesses. So apparently if one particular idea is given, he seems to have understood, but then he shifts his weakness to another domain and says that, what if I fail in that particular application? So he keeps on shifting his footing, and then as and when he keeps changing his footing, Sri Krishna goes and gives him a supporting philosophy. So thereby, this entire Gita becomes a comprehensive philosophy for the whole humanity. So it is not necessary that every page should pertain to the needs of a person. He will have to go through the pages of the text and find out a particular idea that suits his mind, that suits his problems. Quite often you will see that he will graduate from one to the another, and one or the other will come and fulfill his needs. So in that study, Karma Yoga comes as a very important subject matter to be discussed. And then he says a very beautiful shloka in the very fourth verse. he says, Na karmanam anarambhan naishkarmyam purushaha ashnute nacha sanyasanadeva siddhim samadhigachati. Okay, the Sanskrit part aside, what it says is, see, imagine what was Arjuna undergoing. He wanted to give up the field of action and take up the responsibility, or rather the means of a sannyasi, a tyagi. So Sri Krishna draws that particular reference, though little ahead in the book. He refers to that and says, see, a person who is going to give up the plane of action and resort to state of inaction, sannyasa. Sannyasa means, nyasa means throwing away. Sannyasa means throwing away in completeness, not keeping anything, even a shred of it with yourself. Shred of what? Shred of anything that you consider as a dual possession. Say, properties, yeah, it brings in duality, you throw it away. Okay, what about relationship? Yeah, it brings in duality, you throw it away. What about your own identification? That also brings in a sense of duality, you throw it away. So that Sir letter in sannyasa means all inclusive, throwing away all inclusive. So Arjuna was well poised to do that. Sri Krishna comes and says that you are jumping the gun there. You are not following what is to be followed, because by you giving up all this action, don't think that you are actually doing sannyasa. So oftentimes, in our society, there is always a stigma attached to those people who have taken up sannyasa. The family men also will ask, hey, is there any problem with your son? Any physical problem, any health, or kono kaj paini ki? Examination failed hoye geche? Has he failed in the examination? Why is he feeling rejected? So always the hunger, or the feeling of renunciation is always questioned with so many such demeaning queries. For the simple reason that in the past, people have actually done that. People have actually done that. For not getting the low-hanging fruits, which they thought that they actually an opportunity for a further future growth. If we don't pay attention to that, we will lower ourselves in the depth, and then the depth is actually depression. Further and further, it will devolve you, stop you from evolving. Now the question here is, so the people who have failed in their initiatives, to see success in their initiatives, they immediately recoil and then they find an escape route. In the past, we have seen, the society has seen, that many of these mendicants have been failures in their lives. And so to cover up the failure, they say that, yeah, it's not that I could not get the fruit, but I have given up the fruit. But at the back of the mind, they know that they have hungered for that fruit and they have toiled sufficiently, but they were not successful. So this is smashana vairagya. In fact, the same thing happens to even Vibhishana. It comes to everyone. Vibhishana, welcome. After the war, and see, one thing is to be anointed as the king of Lanka. That's a big thing. Lanka is a very prosperous nation, much prosperous than Ayodhya itself, as per the description. So it's really a very proud position. But when Ramachandra wanted to coronate him, that time Vibhishana says, I am not interested in life, in kingdom, in kingly life. What about it? I am not interested in life at all. He wanted to take up renunciation. Because having fought such ghastly war, in which there was an epochal transformation, and in which every near and dear one has passed away. Maybe his mother Nikasha was alive. Maybe Mandodari was alive and a few others. But the entire male clan got eliminated totally. So naturally, they are overcome by pathos. Such a tragedy, who can bear that? And it is very much justified that his soul is now hungering for solitude and maybe to work out the real meaning of life and so on. But then Ramachandra points it out that this vairagya that you have got, this vairagya is not out of knowledge. You don't have the right knowledge, but it is out of intense suffering that you are going through. But no sooner this suffering will wane away. The reason is that the time eats away our past, good as well as bad. So if the bad is dominating, the evil is dominating, the suffering is dominating, the time will eat away that. And the suffering will be toned down. And then you will have another late realization, why did I give up the kingdom? Initially you will be wondering why I should take up the kingdom. But then after that, you will be worrying, not wondering but worrying, why did I give up the kingdom? So one should understand, therefore, that when is the right time to give up? Scriptures give some indication. Following that indication, a person will certainly know for himself that the time has come for him to now take up a different route, the route of renunciation. This cannot be indoctrinated. It's something which is felt at the very core of one's being. So in the case of Arjuna, the fleeing away from the battlefield was something kind of a smashana vairagya. So he says that Naishkarmyam word Sri Krishna uses. The sannyasis, they don't have any responsibilities, zero responsibilities. They are not bound by the scriptural injunctions. Full stop. You cannot go and tell a sannyasi, hey, there is so much of suffering there, why don't you go and help them? He says, let it be there, I am here, why are you troubling me? I did not come and trouble, I did not cause the trouble for us, for instance. But don't you think that the humanity is suffering? Yeah, I know, it's okay. I have also gone through that very much in the past. Now it's your time, you go and help. I never stopped you from helping. You don't come and disturb me, I am in my own place. So, actually, in order to safeguard himself from such public calumny for his apparently callous perspectives, he often retires to solitude, into high peaks and the mountains and the forests, where he is away from the public view. Because when he is in the public view, public will constantly taunt him, torment him, saying that you are useless, you are useless. What are you doing? You are a debt to this place. You are consuming the public property, public prosperity. You are living on them. You are not doing anything to them. So they constantly, even though he is not really pinched by that sense of responsibility, it is not a question of. That's the reason why it requires the soul to outgrow the so-called the mundane needs in order to feel at the heart of the heart the calling of the divine. Because all of us are governed by that call of the divine. It's only that we are answering the call in our own selfish manner, stupid manner, in our own manner with limited understanding. But each one of us are answering the call. So there is also yet another way to answer the call by renunciation. So it is also included in the whole game plan. So if you go to him and then tell that, don't you feel responsible for the growth of the humanity? That word, that sentence, that feeling will not make any sense to him at all. It's not that he has become callous. It's just that he has outgrown that perspective. He often finds himself suffering in that. Quite often he himself finds himself suffering in that. And then instead of trying to correct the individual, he tries to correct the collective. So he says that the collective suffering needs to be addressed. Thereby he works out a destiny of his own. And oftentimes it has served its purpose. We have seen in the lives of the great saints and sages that in their attempt to perfect themselves, they have given back to the society in a manner which has never been done and thought before. So they do they become the very solace. They don't merely feed the hungry or clothe the naked. They become the solace of the soulful suffering of the people, which is possible only by Ishvara. And these saints and sages were able to do that. Were able to demonstrate that quality of Ishvara in them because of their identification with Ishvara. And that can be done only if we thoroughly withdraw ourselves from the lesser identifications, from all relativistic identifications. So that is the state of Naishkarmya. Sri Krishna brings out a beautiful word in the very fourth verse of Karma Yoga. He says, Naishkarmyam Purushaha Ashnute. So you don't put yourself in the shoes of that person who is practicing Naishkarmya. For you, karma is mandated. Actually, there is a very, very good book called Naishkarmya Siddhi, written by a disciple of Adi Shankaracharya, namely Sureshwara Acharya. Sureshwara Acharya has written some wonderful works. He has written a Vartika on Taittiriya Upanishad, and he has commented on Brihadaranyaka Upanishads, and then he has written this Manasollasa. Manasollasa is written Manasollasa, the commentary on Dakshinamurti Stotram, and then this Naishkarmya Siddhi. So one more is there, or is it there? I do not know. These four are very popular works. So in the Naishkarmya Siddhi, it's about 423 verses. So there he tells how a person is caught up in wrong identifications. Very elaborately he brings out, beautifully he brings out, about 100 verses. It's both prose as well as poetry form. And then he brings out in how many ways, stupid ways, the man is holding himself in false identification. And then he says that the mind has to be, and then subsequently he goes about saying that the mind has to be trained in a manner that it is able to give up this false identification. See, one thing is attaining the truth. Okay, that's a different ballgame. But just because we are not able to attain the truth, that doesn't mean that you can hold on to something that is near at your hand. Acha, I don't have much to do. Okay, let me till this piece of land. Will anybody do that? I don't have any job to do. Let me till this piece of land, or throw stones. Take stones and keep throwing. Will you engage in such a fruitless activity? You may not have any work, but doesn't mean that we can fritter away the time and energies in matters which has no leave out lasting benefit, no benefit even, no immediate benefit even. We won't do that. But unfortunately, man seems to be doing that alone. Not actually finding the right identity, he holds on to whichever identity that suits his mind. And then see, he's not even holding on to it permanently. He keeps on changing that also. And he says that it is my right to do that. You don't have the right to do it. You are helplessly doing it. We often think that we are freely doing it, but quite often times we are helplessly looking for an identification and attach themselves with that. That's why often people say that I am feeling void within. I am unable to fill the void. What is that void? Because they are not able to get a new identification. So they are in a hunt for a new identification. The moment they get that, they will fill the void with that identification. And then they will momentarily, temporarily, for a short period of time, they will feel happy, they will feel complacent. And then it will have its own struggles. They are happy with the struggles. They will do that, and again another void happens. So we will have repeated set of different kinds of identifications. Initially, I identify myself with the school-teacher relationship, school-friend relationship, school-staff relationship, and then I outgrow from the school and get into another bigger school, and from there to a bigger arena, and then from a bigger battlefield, and then from there to a bigger forest. So everything keeps on changing, and every time. So that's why we say, the elders, they find themselves disconnected with the youngsters. And then the youngsters say, hey, this is a generation gap. Now in the generation gap, who is telling? Not the elder. The youngster is telling that the elder is suffering from generation gap. Because the youngsters, they have a variety of identification, but the elderly person, he doesn't have the mind has lost its plasticity to mold itself in a variety of identification. So it gets stuck up in the past, and then only few such identifications he can work on. One of them will be the house in which they are living. You cannot easily pluck out an elderly person from a familiar circumstances to an unfamiliar circumstances. That's the reason why when people go abroad, when the children go abroad, when they give the option for the parents to come to the abroad, the parents refuse. Parents are quite elderly, and they cannot face the cultural gap, the social gap, and the psychological gap, which the new place and system is going to present. So now the gap is felt by whom? Is felt by the individual. So they are not able to build new identifications. Some people are quite lucky, they are able to do it, but most of them cannot. So the reason is, and the void only grows. So the void is best filled. The void is best filled with right identification. Can we have such an identification? That's what is going to lead us to Naishkarmya Siddhi, not the false identifications. So Naishkarmya Siddhi, in fact, if you will just dwell in this particular word, where Naishkarmya Siddhi simply means the state in which you have absolutely zero responsibility. There is no compulsion on you, no duty tagging on you. It's not that the world will keep on putting the responsibilities and duties on you, but you don't have that feeling at all. You don't have that feeling at all. But this sentence has to be read in proper caution and not to be taken out of the context. This is coming because of the maturity of the mind, not because of escapist's nature. Correct? Now, let us look at three particular utterances in Vedanta. The ajnana is described in three, I should say, with three examples. Ajnana in a person is explained. It's not a kind of an explanation. It's highlighted, I should say, with three examples. One is the rope and the snake example. Correct? The Rajju Sarpa, they say. Suppose there is a curly rope and there is not sufficient light. All of a sudden, you barge into the room and you see the curled rope. Often it can be mistaken to be a serpent, and then it gives you a shock. So that's one kind of a ignorance a man has. We will get into the explanation very soon. The second one is the oyster shell, which are strewn on the shores of the sea. These oyster shells, they often glitter. They glitter and they look like silver. From a distance, it glitters and looks like silver. And then, hey, what is it? Our focus gets to that, and then we run behind it. So that is the second. And the third, that is called Shuktika Rajata. Shuktika Rajata. Rajata is silver, Shuktika is the oyster shell. Shell, typically, any shell. And then the third example that is given by the Vedantic masters. Shankaracharya uses all these three examples very nicely. The third example that is given is Mriga Marichika. Okay? So that's the third kind of a confusion a man undergoes. Three confusions. Rajju Sarpa, Shuktika Rajata, and Mriga Marichika. Mriga Marichika is the mirage that you see in the desert. Now, when you say Naishkarmya Siddhi, and you see these three examples. So, Naishkarmya Siddhi is a state of inaction. You are not compelled by anything around. So, even if there is a curled rope, it's not going to compel me to action. There is a silver glittering on the shell, be it so, be it silver itself. That's not going to give me any attraction. And the mirage in the desert is not going to further delude me. Correct? For a person who is established in the state of inaction, arising out of right knowledge. Now, what are the three, why are these three particular examples given? Man is governed by three forces which bind him. Krishna himself says much later in 16th chapter. I just want to jump the gun because of the word Naishkarmya Siddhi. Krishna says there are three forces which are acting within the human mind that causes the bondage. Bondage which makes the man commit sinful actions. What are those three forces? Very commonly known. That is Kama, the lust, Krodha, the fear, the anger, and Lobha, which is greed. Krishna says, Krishna sits three focus lamps on this. Kama, Krodha, Lobha. And he says, give up these three things. Now you look at these three examples and these three mental characteristics. You look at the Shuktika Rajata. The moment we saw the silver, there was a feeling of greed. Because something which is strewn on the road doesn't belong to you. You know that it doesn't belong to you. So if you are looking for, seeking for, hungering for something which doesn't belong to you, is clearly Lobha. Correct? So the Shuktika Rajata, that's the reason why they say, while discussing Vedanta, be very careful about which example you use in order to describe the avidya, the ignorance. You have to be very careful. Oftentimes, the examples are all wrongly applied, and that will lead to weakening of the very system that you want to establish. So Shuktika refers to the Lobha part, and the Mriga Marichika is the Kama part. Because of the variety of visions, we know why it happens. It brings in suddenly an apple tree in front of you. It brings in an orange tree in front of you. It brings in a limousine in front of you. It brings in a palace in front of you. At various occasions, as you keep moving, the vision keeps on changing. Now we get attracted behind all these things. So this is Kama. The variety of desires are overwhelming from within us, and the external ones are the trigger. So the Kama tendency is very well captured in this Mriga Marichika. And then in the Rajju Sarpa, we have the Krodha. Actually, you may be wondering why Krodha is related to Sarpa. Actually, Sarpa will give you fear. Right? Now, fear actually is a reaction. Fear is a reaction. But what was the action? Lobha is an action. Kama is an action. Fear is not an action. Fear is a reaction. So this reaction is coming because of Krodha. Because we have Krodha within, the fear is now manifesting. If Krodha was not there, fear will not come. In fact, there is a saying that a person who is angry-some, the Lord will appear to him as death. A person who is angry-some, the Lord will appear to him as death. That is, in an angry mood, if you think of God, the God will be a punishing God. You can check that to yourself. This is something, it's a take-home exercise. Whenever you are feeling very angry, extremely angry, okay, that time you think of God. You will find that He is coming as a dispenser of some punishment to you, not somebody else, to you. And at the same time, if you are stung with karma, at the time if you think of Rama, so to say, the God, then the very thought of God will be insipid. That insipidity in the thought of God and taking the Lord's name is an indication that we are in the flux of karma. So, Naishkarmyam is to control all these three vagaries of the mind. If a person is able to successfully conquer these three vagaries of mind, namely Kama, Krodha, Lobha, then this person is the one who is fit for Naishkarmyam. What was Arjuna doing? Arjuna was in the flux of all the, not only three, three more. And that's why he says, for subsequently, that even for a moment you cannot stay without action. Therefore, you engage yourself in action. You engage yourself in the action in the right perspective. What should be the right perspective in action? Yajna perspective is the right perspective in action. If you do that, that particular action will give you the fruit of, give you the desired fruit. At the same time, it will not bind you. Every work that we undertake is going to put back in us a particular samskara, and that samskara is going to again rule me, and it becomes a cycle. So, in order for this samskara not to gain root in our own consciousness, in our own conscience, we have to cut that. We have to sterile it. We have to neutralize it. How do you neutralize that? The best way to neutralize is to do it as a sacrifice. See, it's not that you are going to give up everything. What belongs to you is going to come to you. But what doesn't belong to you, you will not waste your energies in dreaming about that. Yajna makes you very realistic. It brings you down from a very imaginative world to a very, very practical world. So, yajna is a wonderful karma yoga practice. And also he says that whatever, in quite a few verses, see in verses 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, these many verses, he is extolling the yajna perspective. So from 9 to 16, he is extolling the yajna perspective. He says that in that yajna, the essence of this is, when we engage in our continuation of our life, having our own quantum of enjoyments, our own dominion of expertise and sovereignty, you have a control. You have a control of your nearby surroundings. All of them have come to you not by only your effort. The scriptures repeatedly come and remind us that, friend, you are not alone on this planet. You are one among the lot. The yajna concept is actually bringing the idea of our collective coexistence. And it becomes a bounden responsibility on me that whatever benefit I derive in this coexistence, I must, in a sufficient measure, will have to give back to the society. It's a must. Yajna makes it mandatory, and for which you are not supposed to expect any return, because this itself is something doing in return. So for the return of a return is never anticipated. Correct? That will be dual taxation. Dual tax, it amounts to dual taxation. So you have enjoyed the collective strength, support, and collective efforts. So thereby, I give a contribution of my earnings back to the society. So the Panchamahayagya comes there, giving back to the society, and for which I don't expect any return. And we have to do it. Suppose somebody asks this question, what is the justification for this? Why can't I aggrandize? Man, you see in the animal kingdom, do you think yajna is being performed? The lion goes and hunts whenever it feels hungry. It does not help the other beings to grow. So man also essentially is a social animal. Okay, so he may slightingly and tauntingly say that your sacrifice idea is not spanning across the life forms. Why are you falsely indoctrinating the human mind just because he's able to listen? Why are you indoctrinating such a thing in the man? He can be like an animal. Yeah, he can be like an animal. But then next time, when you feel like crying, don't look for another shoulder. Don't look for another shoulder when you want to, unload your burden, your sufferings, your sorrow. Don't go asking for help. Lion does not ask for anyone's help. Correct? Don't go and complain the government for not providing you sufficient amenities. Correct? So, the yajna thing is unavoidable. Absolutely unavoidable. Yes, so then Naishkarmya, again Sri Krishna brings out, earlier he says, Arjuna, you are not ready for Naishkarmya. And then in the verse 17, he tells who is eligible for Naishkarmya, the state of inaction. You may be wondering, sir, how is it state of inaction at all attractive enough for us to aspire for? Well, I would like to, given a ball and a bat, I would like to play. Right? Given only the ball, I would like to kick. Why do you ask me to just keep the ball and then keep quiet? See, inaction here does not mean zero action. Inaction doesn't mean zero action. Nishkarmya here means, karmyam word is, there is a yogyata pratyaya. There is something called as a yogyata pratyaya. Yeah. Then ya comes at the end. Paniyam. Paniyam means what? Patum yogyam. Yogyata is there. That's why ya comes at the end. It is fit for it. So that means what? There is an enforcement. So Naishkarmyam here means an enforcement of karma. So inactions does not mean that you are mummified. It's just that no responsibility falls upon you. And so that particular idea is clarified in the 17th verse. Yastvatmaratirev syat atmatruptascha manavah atmani eva santushtaha tasya karyam na vidyate. He again uses the word karyam. Karyam means kartum yogyam. That is, yogyata prapti is not there for the individual. But he will do. It's not that he will not do. You give him a bat and a ball, he will play cricket. In fact, he will play better than you. Swami Vivekananda was in US somewhere. And then there were some guys who were practicing shooting the eggshells, floating in the water. So Swamiji was observing and then he said, shall I give a try? He said that no, this is not a toy instrument, this is a real gun. And it's not a joke. We have been practicing for long. Have you ever wielded a gun? He said, no, I have not. Then he says, then there's no what's trying. He said, nevertheless, let me. He takes that, and what happened was history. So there were several of those floating shells, and then he could He could easily aim and shoot at them. Now, there was what kind of a mental state was he in that he was able to engage in that particular? Was there any compulsion? I'm just saying, I'm putting it in a very, very simple terminology. There was no compulsion. These guys were compelled to train because maybe there was a competition going on for which they are getting ready. He had absolutely no compulsion in doing that. He takes that, he does that, but he does it in perfection. So, the Swami Vivekananda later on he says in Karma Yoga chapter itself, during my formative years, I was under the impression that the passion, that the working with the passion is a very strong force for achieving success. But as I grow older, he was 39 when he passed away. But still he uses the word older. For him, Sri Ramakrishna, who was in the age 40, was an old man. He will say, Buddho. He will call Sri Ramakrishna Buddho. He was 42 years, maybe 46 years old, yeah. Because he met him in the year 82, 83. So 3 years now, 47 he must have met. 47 is not Buddho age. And when actually Vivekananda saw Sri Ramakrishna was very hefty. So Holy Mother would show a particular stool. The stool is very big. He says his body will go out of the stool when he sits in that. So like very, very muscular and very imposing figure Sri Ramakrishna had. Very strong person. So he will say Buddho. So when he says as I grow older, I find that lesser the passion, greater the work is done. You see, it is contrary, very, very contrary to the so-called modern psychologist's perspective. He says passion is a draining force. I am still yet to realize the full potential behind this statement. True. But then he says passion drains your energy. We have to be very contemplative about taking the last shred of the meaning out of this particular statement. And he says the more older I grow, I find that greater work is done when you have lesser and lesser passion. Yes, ma'am?
When you don't have passion, how to do that work? Like, you won't feel to do that work. And if you don't take the responsibility, how you will accomplish the duty?
Now, see, feeling responsible and feeling passionate is very different.
But if you don't feel the passion, how can you do the work?
See, in passion, what happens, passion is a very strong motivation. True. Provided you are successful. But what if you are not successful? See, you are pawning your whole self in the name of passion behind one article of pursuit. Correct? Upon not achieving it, you fall flat on the floor. That's what passion actually destroys in this sense. That quite often we stay passionate by looking at the ends. We keep reminding ourselves of the fruit of action, and we get motivated by that fruit of action and stay ourselves. Thanks for coming, and yeah, we'll have some. No, just a minute. We have something here. I don't want you to miss it. So the sustained passion. See, how do you actually create the passion? Let me give this as a classroom exercise right away. How do you feel passionate? For the means of the action or for the fruit of the action? Fruit only. Means is never. You can never have passion for the means. Passion is created by you juxtaposing yourself with the fruit, and then you get enamored by it. You get that, and that you invest in your needs. Continuously keep thinking, I'm going to get there, I'm going to get there, I'm going to get there. That's where the passion has its root in having your eye fixated on the goals that you're going to get. And now this drains away the energy. The reason is the moment you live in the moments of, it is actually living in the moments of attaining the goal. You are only preponing that. You have not got the goal. You have not arrived at the goal yet. Now you place yourself at the state of the goal as if you have got it. How will it be to become a champion. You aim, I want to become a champion. Okay? So to become a champion, not to master the game. Mastering the game is different from becoming a champion. So if you put your right efforts at the right time, you will learn the moves properly, of which the champions, being a champion becomes a right consequence, a right fruit. But staying motivated with becoming a champion alone will compromise on the means that you may possibly take up.
But I'm passionate to the work because I'm liking doing the work.
You are liking doing the work, that's what, it requires a bit of introspection. Quite often it is the fruit which is actually influencing us in the action. Sri Krishna says, Karyamityeva yat karma. Work to be done for the sake of work itself, not for the fruits. Do the work for the work's sake. Now, how can you do that? How can you do a work for the work's sake? It requires a different kind of a mindset. See, we are not trained in that. It doesn't just by somebody comes and gives the idea in a minute or two, it doesn't mean that a person can abide by it. It requires a lot of introspection. Work for work's sake. Lord Buddha also was propounding this particular philosophy. Work for work's sake. Swami Vivekananda has talked at length about work for work's sake. He says knowledge for knowledge's sake. Because knowledge itself is the reward. The very knowledge itself is the reward for the knowledge that you get. Not that the knowledge is going to fetch you some recognition or name or some prosperity or property. All those are secondary. But the acquisition of knowledge itself is the reward. So that is the work for work's sake, knowledge for knowledge's sake. Yes, madam?
Then Maharaj, what is the higher or greater substitute of passion according to Bhagavad Gita?
Yeah, it's finding your own self. Absolutely. Finding the truth. Who are you? You have to find out that. That is the goal of, that is what is called as the Param Shreya. Shreya Param Avapsyate. Krishna comes and says.
When I am like setting a goal for doing something,
Yeah.
then like sometimes what we do, we create a kind of passion so that I can achieve that thing. So according to Sri Krishna, passion is a negative force, that we understand. But in state of passion, what should be the proper motivation, a higher motivation? What is the higher substitute of passion?
You see, there is a statement in our Shastra that says, Prayojanam na anuddishya mandopi na pravartate. Prayojana means fruits, results. All of us want results. Full stop. Nobody will engage in any action without an eye on the result. You must have eye on the result. But you should not lose yourself on that result.
Losing yourself is
Losing yourself, yes.
So that is why
That is draining. That drains your energy.
passion actually brings.
Passion actually drains energy when you lose yourself in the thought of the result. You prepone yourself, you adorn the result. You have a feeling of the particular result already attained. And out of that comes a kind of an energy within you which is called passion. This is actually eating away the real joy that you will get on really achieving the goal. You must have an eye on the goal, but not losing yourself on the thought of the goal. Karyamityeva yat karma. That's why Vivekananda at a later place he says that the means should justify the end. The means should justify the end. Meaning to say that you will have to put all your effort, energy, be passionate. If you at all you have to be passionate about the means, not about the ends. But nobody says I am passionate about the means. Because means will take up a lot of toil. In that. So he will be, in effect, what he will be doing, he will be investing that passion for the result in the means. But remember, the object that you are going to get is not an infinite object. It is a limited object. The objective is very limited. That means the quantum of enjoyment that you are going to get is also limited. Therefore, the quantum of passion you will get is also limited. That is, you cannot generate infinite amount of energy or unlimited amount of energy over a particular thing which is limited in its returns. You cannot. Energy conservation doesn't justify this. So thereby what happens? Only as much as passion you can generate, that only that much you will be able to invest in the means. And we all know that the result will always be in lesser proportion to the means. You will never get equal proportion. It will be lesser proportion to the means. Thereby, it is highly likely that you may not get what you intended to do. So, as I grow older, I understood that being less passionate is more rewarding. Beautiful idea. So now why am I saying all this? That's because of the shloka 17, which brings in the idea of the Naishkarmyatvam. 10 o'clock we started, right? Okay, up to 11:30 we can go. Yastvatma ratireva syat atmatruptascha manavaha atmanyeva santushtaha tasya karyam. This is a fantastic shloka. Naishkarmyata squarely described. He says, what is the conclusion? Karyam na vidyate. That means kartum yogyata, karya yogyata na vidyate. He has no responsibilities, he has no compulsion, he has no duties. There is no enforcement upon him. Okay, who is this guy? The guy who takes delight in his own self. Atma Rati. He is so joyful within. That's the reason why during the prayer we say that we have our Ishtadevata full of bliss and joy. That is, he is not seeking for anything else for joy. He is the very embodiment of bliss and joy. So that Atma Rati, if a person has, first quality, such a person will also have a second quality, Krishna says. What is that? Atma Tripti. Now, Tripti actually means contentment. So, the guy is contented with his own self. So, I will take up an example and then bring out shades of difference between this and the next one. Atmarati we know. We don't have to describe much about that. In fact, we have to experience that. Atma Tripti. And then next one he says, Atmani evacha santushtaha. Samyak toshana. Satisfaction. Is fully satisfied. Tripti, or you can say Tripti, if it is satisfied, then Toshana is contentment. Samyak Toshana is contentment. Correct. There are shades of difference. Not much difference in this. If you want to put it the other way, even then it works well. So Tripti, if you take it as satisfaction, then Santosha will be contentment. Now, how will you differentiate between contentment and satisfaction? I was thinking about this, frankly speaking. I should take a little pride on this. I was thinking about this because this particular topic I was handling in the training center, or Brahmachari training center, and I know the Brahmacharis are very smart there. So they will surely ask this question, but nobody asked. Anyway, so I was trying to look for an answer, and then I got this anecdote. You see whether this anecdote is appropriate or not. So there's a guy, he has 100 rupees in his pocket. Okay, I don't know the current market rates, but let us, in this scenario, 100 rupees he has in his pocket, he goes to the hotel and then asks, what are the things that he can have for that afternoon? So he brings in a menu card. There are a lot of items. And then there is one item which is exactly 100 rupees, and there is one with 40 rupees, 50 rupees, 20 rupees. Quite a few items are all beyond 100. He says, oh, but they are very delicious. He was eagerly expecting that by stroke of luck he may have something within his budget, but nothing, everything fell out of the budget. And then he had to settle with something which will be filling the stomach. He found, and then there was a combination of 90 rupees. And then he said, okay, I will satisfy myself. I'll satisfy myself with this 90 rupee lunch order. He got that, he took that food, and then he went away. No, he was filled. I mean, he was not denied the pleasure of a full meal. He had that, he left. That month he worked, and then he got a good salary, 5,000 rupees. He puts it in his pocket, and then he comes to the same hotel. And in the meantime, he listened to Dhyana Govinda's lecture on Gita. So he came. I'm Dhyana Govinda, by the way. Since she is new to this, I thought. So he came to the same person came to the hotel, and the menu card was again shown to him. He looked at that, and then he took up the same 90 rupee meal. And he says that, I had that earlier, that was filling. So, this also will be filling. I will not require myself to indulge any further in the name of filling the stomach. Now, that is contentment. He has the capacity to spend more. And unfortunately, he attended Dhyana Govinda's Gita lecture. And therefore, he says that Swamiji told that contentment is an outgrowth. Is an outgrowth of a person who is established in the self. So I am a person who is trying to establish myself. I am staying contented with this 90 rupee meal. It suffices. And even though I have 5,000 rupees. So the extra ability, I will say empowerment that he had doesn't draw him to, the slippery footing of indulgence. Indulgence is a slippery footing, just like this dry jamun. 1, 2, 3, 4. You cannot continue yourself. Correct? 1 demands the 2, 2 demands the 3. It's nice. So that's why he brought 2 boxes. So it's a very slippery. You will not know how long it is going to drag you. Indulgence will never tell me how long it's going to drag me. But the contentment is the one which stops you from indulging. In the earlier case, he would have used this 90 rupee and then still fret and fume within, if only I had another 1,000 rupees, I would have had such wonderful dishes that was there in the menu. I couldn't have it. You keep on reiterating that idea after the meal. Then that means you are not satisfied. It drags you back into that with more desire and more gusto feeling for having a full-fledged enjoyment. So, do you think that this example is appropriate? Correct? So, a person who is Atmavan is a person with a tremendous amount of powers. Really, Koti Surya Prakasha. He has powers such as that. But he will never indulge. He will never be compelled to use those powers. There will be, so people will say, if only I have got the power to, Atma Darshana kind of, then I'll get a lot of powers. Yoga Sutra talks about it. The kind of fantastic powers you get on the path of spiritual realization. Fantastic powers. Clairvoyance, clairaudience. You can make yourself big, you can make yourself small, anima, lagima. You can shrink your body to a housefly, and you can enlarge it to the size of a mountain. Such powers are there. Yoga Sutra talks about those powers. Patanjali gives a A nice treatise on that. Of course, in the Vibhuti Pada, which is not the objective of the yoga. Objective of yoga is Viyoga. Separating yourself from all this duality. That's the objective of the yoga. But he says, a person who is aiming for the highest, do you think he will go pauper? No, he is not going to go pauper. He is the richest. So, what is a rich man without any riches? Okay, if you want to know, let me initiate. Karke Patanjali tells. You see, he gets these many powers. So many powers he gets in the path. And then he later on says, but these powers are all more distracting. And you cannot consolidate them to attain your goal. You cannot consolidate this power. Better not get these powers because they are more distracting. But he says that these powers become an encouraging factor for you to stay yoked to the path of yoga. So these guys, Atmarati, we say, na, like for example, say Trailanga Swami. Trailanga Swami has lived for 400 years. During the time of Britishers, he was there. He was lived for 400 years along the bank of Ganges. He was a master yogi. They can expand life, shrink life. They can do anything they want. In fact, it is being told of this yogi that people would come to him crying, saying that, oh, my son, this fellow has died, that fellow has died. And he usually doesn't care about it. Sometimes he will be overpowered by compassion. And then history has recordings that he has brought some of these guys back to life. Maybe these are all can be ignored as cock and bull story, which are not the real objective of spiritual striving. But what I'm trying to say is these guys, they have a lot of power with them. The power which, see, Swami Vivekananda, for instance, correct? When he went and said, the sisters and brothers of America, and then 1.5 minutes of deafening applause, when the same sisters and brothers of America where that particular phrase was used several times in the earlier lectures. But why is it that when Vivekananda said that, there was such a deafening applause? What was the magic? This is the power. This is the power which people got really, overpowered. The power of speech. All what we do is just make sound. Those are the guys who really give speeches. And that speech really did the impact. It made the impact. Their souls were awakened. As if when you are sleeping, there is a sound. Okay, that disturbs your sleep and then you wake up. Like your eyes will be all, fully open, right? You will not wake up like, what's so? Immediately, what is this? What is this? That's the fully awakened state. So when Swamiji did that, there was a kind of an awakening within them. That's a transfer of power through speech. And that singer, that French singer, opera singer, I forget her name. She was on the verge of total destruction. She was an opera singer. It's a very glamorous role. And then people were taking undue advantage of her. And then she was driven to the point of madness. And then said, this life is not worth living. And then she planned to commit suicide. She confided that to her friend. The friend told her, well, there is a person who has come. There's a person who has come. Why don't you go and meet him? He seems to be a soothsayer. Why don't you meet him? Then the lady walks in. At that particular time, Vivekananda was in meditation. That was a meditation time, and maybe it was in the evening or time. That lady walks in, and then he didn't even open his eyes. He says, come my child, sit. I see a storm running in your mind. And then he tells her whole past. That lady was in full tears. Why? Not because he has found a miracle man. There was one guy who understood me. At last I found one person who really understood me and my problems, my suffering. But they were all, very superhuman powers that he was able to immediately unburden that heavily sorrowing soul. And then he breathed life into her. And then she went about, she gave up that idea. She became the happiest soul. She went about doing, very, very many big things. Later on, she came to Belur Math, met our other disciples, Sharadananda Maharaj, and then she even gave a performance for the disciples, though they didn't like it. He says, what is she doing? Because it required understanding, See, not everyone can understand every form of music. So, Atma Rati, Atma Santushti, and Atma Tripti. Now, such a person will never have any compulsion by the society. Therefore, now how does he attain this state? By a single characteristic property, that is character quality, that is stay unattached. Stay unattached. Asaktaha satatam. Satatam means, okay, when I go to the office, I will stay unattached. The world doesn't belong to me, the work is not mine. Hey, somebody will come and do the work. But I will take the salary. So it's not a partial unattachment. Unattachment should be everywhere, throughout. Unattachment does not mean shirking one's responsibility. See, Krishna should never be wrong, misread. Unattached means do your responsibility to the last fiber, but don't have an authority or a right over the results that ensue. You don't have the right. You don't have the right over the results. The cook will get to eat what he cooks. Out of the 5 dishes, maybe 3 dishes he will get. But the most desirable 4th dish he may not get. Because the masters took it away. But then he got 3 dishes and he should stay content that he got his fill. Asaktaha satatam karyam karma samachara. If you should not feel the compulsion of duty and responsibility on you, and nevertheless be engaged in action, that particular character quality can be obtained only by one mental mode. What is that? Detachment. Beautiful. He has isolated that problem, you see. It's very difficult to give simple answers. People usually write treatises. And treatises will have commentaries. And those commentaries will have, challenges, oppositions, making the subject more and more complicated to understand. You cannot have a subject so simply put than this particular idea that asaktaha satatam karyam karma samachara. And then he says, asakto kyacharan karma paramapnoti purusha. This is Anvaya Vitireka, they say. That if you want to attain success, that by doing this you will attain success. And then if you want to attain success, you will have to do this. You know what this means? Anvaya Vitireka. That is, if you want success, you have to do this. Rather, doing this, you will get success. Okay? Doing this? Doing all your work with detachment will give you success. That is statement 1. Statement 2 is, if you want success, then do all the things unattached. So the first one is Anvaya, the second one is Vitireka. If you put Anvaya Vitireka together, then in the logic, you get what is called as an equivalence relationship. Equivalence relationship. That is, to give you an example, hunger can be satiated, can be quelled if you take food. If you eat food, your hunger, stomach hunger, can be quelled. Now, if you eat, your hunger will be quelled. And in order to quell your hunger, you will have to eat. Is there any other way can you solve the hunger problem? Is there any other way? So, solving the hunger problem and eating form an equivalence relationship. Get my point? Both are equal. So without eating, you cannot solve the hunger problem. And in order to solve the hunger problem, you have to eat. Does this relationship exist other places?
Work and its result.
It doesn't there. You went wrong. Exactly in the very first example she went wrong. Work and its result, she says, has got this equivalence relationship. Now result means you have to put the person. Whose result? So I may work, but I may not get the result. But to get the result, I have to work. But there is no guarantee that. So Anvaya Vyatireka is not there. It is for this reason. Very nice, madam. I got a very good hint from you. I will use it in future lectures. It is because we don't have this kind of a equivalence relationship, detachment is necessary.
That is what actually I wanted to
Very good point. Very good point. Work and the result does not have this equivalence relationship. And therefore, you need to have an alternate equivalence relationship resting on which you will be able to engage in action, which is detachment. Beautiful. Okay, we will continue from next class. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Hari Om Tatsat. Shri Ramakrishna Arpanamastu. Hey, but this went in. It's okay, yeah? Sound was there. So any interactions? Would you like to have any interactions? In fact, in this text, he says, Krishna also says that if you want to look for an example, look at me. So he drives a self-referential example, saying that I am doing like that. I have got this fighting the war. What has got to do with me? I have done nothing to do with this war. I am being roped in by so-called the flow of things, flow of events. Suppose the Duryodhana wins. Krishna has nothing to lose. Or your Yudhishthira wins. Krishna has nothing to gain. Because finally after the war he will leave the place and go to wherever he belongs to. Maybe Dwarka or somewhere fighting for some other land. So Krishna doesn't belong there. But still is engaged in the war. And he says that I am established in that Atmarati, Atma-Santrupti and Atma-Tushti. I am established in that. But still I am engaging in action. And he says that suppose I, since I have already attained the state of perfection, Krishna, if he says that if I stop myself, if I don't engage in action, then what people will do, they will take exception, citing me. Hey, Krishna himself is not doing. The man who has all the abilities, he is abstaining from work. What is this I am going to get by my doing? I will also abstain. Yadyadacharati shreshtaha. So that's the reason why the leader, as long as you are not a leader, consider yourself blessed. The moment you become a leader, tarpor life dekhate hoga. That means you have to show life to people.
Please give an example of unavailability which is properly applied.
I told hunger.
No, apart from hunger.
Oh, Anvaya, another beautiful thing is there. Man is stuck in the triangular relationship of avidya, kama, karma. Avidya, ignorance. Then that will, because you are deluded. Ignorance of what? Ignorance of what? Ignorance of not worldly riches. Ignorance of about your own self. See, that one question, we try all the means to avoid it. Avoid answering this question. We'll see later. That one question has never been answered, you see. Who is this person? So, the scripture uncompromisingly and without sparing any. Welcome. Sorry, ma'am. Yeah. Welcome. Most welcome. One. Oh, you're sweating a lot. Oh man, this is really sad. Huh? Oh God. Hey, you guys can come forward. There's sufficient place here. You can come forward, yeah. Okay, fine. Yeah. There's a lot of place. They are supposed to be, duplets. Okay, fine. So avidya is ignorance. That ignorance of what? Ignorance of one's own identity. Because of that particular ignorance, man is getting attracted to several other things, several other identifications. He tries one or the other. I am a mother of someone, I am a father of someone, I am a sister of someone, I am a brother of someone, I am an employee, I am a boss, I am this thing. Various kinds of identification is running after. Now that leads to desire. Desire to find out identification. Now, can you simply desire and stay quiet? That will drive you to action. Simply desiring, you will not be able to satisfy yourself. You will have to work towards fulfilling that desire. So, karma comes into picture. So, avidya leads to kama, kama leads to karma, and karma, what it does? It only strengthens your avidya. It more and more strengthens the avidya of your own self. It more and more ascertains the fact that you are not yourself. You have to become that. You have to become a champion. You have to become a father. You have to become a mother. You have to become a boss. So that particular wrong, misdirected identification is now getting strengthened by all the initiatives that I put forth. Only because of the forgotten identity to begin with. Okay, this avidya, kama, karma. This is what is called the triangular relationship. Now, how will you cut the cycle? This tricycle, how will you cut? First of all, for many of us, we are happy in the cycle. The question of cutting the cycle doesn't arise at all. Okay, no problem. But there are some guys who come up and then ask, hey, this is a rat race. This is a rat race. What is this? This one thing is again taking me back and back, reverse. I'm just coming around. Have you seen that particular video? In one village, fire was set in the middle, someplace, and then one shepherd, what he does is he takes a cattle. There was a long array of cattle. He takes the first one, drags it, the second one follows it, the third one follows the second. So all started following. And he took that first cattle, he held. And then he went around the fire. He went around the fire once, twice, and then came out. The entire troop of cattle, they all went around the fire endlessly. That video went on for several minutes, as if it was a ritual. They were circumambulating the fire for God-forsaken reason. That was an eye-opener. This avidya, kama, karma is that circle. Is that circle where the human mind is completely taking a full round after round after round after round, and for God-forsaken reason. But there are moments in human life, not in the cattle's life, but there are moments in the human life when the speed reduces. When the speed of the circling reduces to the extent of almost stopping, because he's gasping for breath. and taking more energy, he will again continue the journey. Because the momentum will not allow him to stop all of a sudden. Come away from that, rather. So he slows down, and then that gives him some useful moments to think. What am I doing? So for him, this cutting the cycle becomes a very pertinent question. The Shastra comes and tells that the knowledge of yourself, if you want to cut the cycle, it is this ajnana which you have to answer. Kama you cannot answer. Karma you cannot answer. Because they are all reactions. Where was the action? The action was in avidya. So avidya you have to cut. Avidya, if you want to cut, that means it can be cut only by its opposite. Would you like to have this, sir? Oh yeah, sure. Oh, okay. So avidya you want to cut, naturally its opposite is vidya. That is Brahma Vidya. So Brahma Vidya alone can salvage a person from the clutches of the bondages. Now this is a statement which you are making. Brahma Vidya shall salvage a bonded soul. Because a bonded soul is in the bond of the triad, avidya, vidya will counteract avidya. So that equation is correct. Now the question here is it an equivalence relation? This is Anvaya. If a person has Brahma Vidya, then he has a right identification of his own soul or his own self. Thereby, he will not be misled. Thereby, he will not be compelled. Thereby, he will not be in the cycle. Now, what will be the Vyatireka part? Now, if you want to cut the cycle,
You have to have Brahma Vidya.
no. Is there any other way? See, Brahma Vidya will certainly and work as an antidote for your ignorance. Agreed. But eating Rasagulla also can. Nobody says eating Rasagulla will not. See, just by the statement that Brahma Vidya will be an antidote does not stop your Rasagulla to be another means. Your Jangri to be another means. So how do you say Rasagullas and Jangris don't have the capability to cut the ignorance? How do you say that? That can be said only by the Vyatireka statement. So Vyatireka says, it's a statement only. Okay, it's a statement. That is if you want to cut this triad, Brahma Vidya alone can do it. The moment you are able to make that statement and prove it. See, these statements are not axioms. Acharya Shankara takes this Anvaya and takes this Vyatireka and proves. Systematically, he proves in the introduction to Taittiriya Upanishad. If you are interested, you can go through that portion clearly. So, this is one Anvaya. Brahma Vidya alone can salvage a man from the bondage, Anvaya. And if somebody wishes to get salvaged from the bondages, then he must possess Brahma.
We're talking of three examples of Ajnana in a
Yeah, Sri Ajnana.
So one was Mega Parishika, like the desert mirage.
Desert Mirage.
One was this Sutika Radatha, which
Shuktika Radatha.
oysters which appeared like a silver and
Correct.
for different persons. Well. The third, he was talking the rope and snake.
That rope, a curled rope looks like a snake. You feel like that if the light is not sufficient, suppose in the garden, there is a curled rope. Okay? And you are going there and you suddenly see that. There is not sufficient light there. It is easily mistaken to be serpent. Now, if you mistake it to be serpent, what will be the reaction? Go pet it? Backstep. For you, your forward step will go back. You recoil from there. And the recoiling happens out of fear. Correct? So, fear is the factor which is part of ajnana. Lobha, kama, krodha, lobha. These are the three forces which binds the man. If you have answers to these three forces, you have become a master of yourself. And their manifestation is caricatured in three examples. The caricature of Krodha is the Rajusarpa, because a man who is angry alone will have the sense of fear. For instance, I'll tell you, a person who has conquered anger is actually violence. It is violence. If you have conquered anger, means you have conquered himsa. That is, you are now a himsa. And a person who is ahimsa, who practices ahimsa, who is established in ahimsa, even the most evil of the beings become friend. So what is there to fear? There is no fear at all. A man who is established in zero anger, he will have no fear, because everyone will become your friend. And somebody is your enemy, it's because you have fear within you, you have anger within you. It's a wonderful correlation with Sri Krishna. That's the reason why Krodha has been brought in. Beautifully, it's brought into the triad. Kama, Krodha, Lobha.
How does fear of
Ahimsa pratishtayam tat sannidau vairatyagaha. Your Yoga Sutra says. Ahimsa pratishtayam means what? A person who is established in the non-violence. That is, in his mind, there is no violent thought. He has the thought of love and friendliness and compassion flowing out of his mind for every being. That is non-violence. That means he has no anger. Now, that ahimsa, if he is established in that, what happens in him? Tat sannidho, in his presence, even the wildest of animals, they will give up their wildest nature. We see in the life of Swami Purushottamānanda. He is a sadhu, possibly coming under Rishikesh Parampara somewhere. He was living in Vasishta Guha. And in that Gufa means what? Cave means what? They are all dwelling places of wild animals. All the caves and dens are living places for the wild animals. Now he occupied that. That means what? He is going to have a company. That night he is going to have a company. And he had. That was a wild tiger. Every night it will come, sleep well, and in the morning it will go. And he is there. He is there, that also is there. Possibly it will bring some food for him. God knows how he lived there. I mean, who fed him and all. But he lived in that Guha for years. For Purushottamānanda, recent times, not far away. Not a myth, it's recent times. And now he has a following, and the place is now well kept. That we don't find such persons of attainment, so they drove away the tiger. Tiger is no more there. Because Purushottamānanda, once he left, naturally there is no place for tiger there. So what I'm trying to say here is, we get beautiful hints from this, as of where we have to put our calculated effort for getting perfection. And work for work's sake, I'll tell you, is a very, very beautiful idea. It took time, it took really long time to get a comprehension of this mode of working. Work for work's sake, it removes the differences in the work. It establishes dignity of labor. In a very, very common social setup, I'm using this. And in a spiritual leading, you say, it gives rise to Chitta Shuddhi. Chitta Shuddhi means what? Chitta Shuddhi means, Chitta here means mind. The mind has got a lot of dirt. What kind of dirt? The dirt are, when we say dirt, it means that which makes us feel sticky. We get very sticky with regards to our personal wants and then personal nuances, and there's a beautiful word, idiosyncrasies. I was looking for that word. Personal idiosyncrasies are so complicated that I want water 60% hot at the top and 70% at the bottom. And such a water only I will be able to drink. This is an idiosyncrasy. There is no end to the wants and demands of the man. I want to take a chocolate with something inside, something outside, and tasting differently. These are all the idiosyncrasies of the wants of the mind. It's okay, as long as you get it. What if you don't get it? Not that everything that we have desired we have got. No, if you don't get it, that's when your mind runs into riot. And then you look for things where, see, you remove the chocolate and put the thing that you are really desiring after that. It will make a lot of sense. Each one of us are running behind that will-o-wisp, they say, na? Will-o-wisp is what? It's a kind of a, shadow figure that runs in the forest. They call it Ratha Katteri, we call it in Tamil. It's actually the will-o-wisp. What happens is, there is a fire. It caused due to some reason, and then the fire spreads from one branch to another branch. So as if one person is moving and is causing destruction wherever he goes. Huh?
In Bangla we call it Alia.
Alia. So that's the will-o-wisp. You try to run, you chase, you will not be able to get it. So now the point here is, the mechanism by which we can get this Chitta Shuddhi is to get the mind out of the grasp. See, for example, you have this room. How many students can sit here? As many tables? As many tables into 2? Remove the tables. Now ask the question, how many students can sit here? Suddenly you find that the number is getting tripled. Because you have another mechanism of sitting. So now in the mind, if we go on putting a lot of conditions and objects and then correlations, it's like populating and reducing the free space. How much quality work can be done with that free mind? So Krishna says, that you get rid of these things slowly, it will go by itself. The moment you find that a particular thing is of no worth, that thing will automatically be slipped out of your brain. It is not that you have to forcibly take it and put it outside. Arjuna was trying to forcibly do it. Krishna says, don't forcibly do it. Don't do it. No. If you want to empty this room, don't forcibly take the thing. No, what you do is, you try to bring in more people. You try to accommodate more people. What the people will do? They themselves will throw the thing outside. Simple equation. So try to do useful work. Objective is to increase the occupancy here. Set forth to yourself to increasing the occupancy. You will find that there is sufficient space. They will make the space. So now how to engage in such a kind of an action? Krishna says that work for work's sake. Now the work for work's sake, without people may ask. In fact, I myself have found it really very difficult. How is it that work for work's sake means knowledge for knowledge and work for work? I never understood these two statements. But there is a point when you think about it. Like for example, there is a kind of a root. You put the root in your mouth, and then you salivate, you chew for quite some time, and then slowly one particular juice will come out of that. It takes a lot of time. And if your gums are strong enough that they don't bleed, and your tongue is also strong enough that they don't get scratches, and you are successful in chewing it, a particular juice will come and give you a wonderful feeling, a wonderful aroma and the taste. But you have to endure chewing the root. It's a root. Such is the life of a spiritual aspirant, that taking a particular idea, you will have to keep on chewing. You may not get the answer. You leave it a while, again you chew, again you leave it a while, and then you again chew. Slowly you will find a particular juice comes. Maybe that is the only little thing the root has. Subsequently, if you see, now you will not get it because it has exhausted the juice. I am under the same predicament, that when I think about it quite deeply within, regarding this work for work's sake and knowledge for knowledge sake, at one particular point in time, everything seems to make sense. Right? It's like the juice coming to the fore. But after I get that sense, all of a sudden, I'm again under the confusion of what it means. It eludes the grasp. It eludes the total grasp. Because I have not established myself in that particular mode of sadhana. Once you do that, then you will be able to do it. So, but clearly we have got an advantage, that you will not lose anything in this method in this trial. There's nothing to lose, because it doesn't say stop from action. It says engage in action. But may the means be the very focus of your initiatives, not the goal part. Keep your so work for work's sake, in the sense that you put your attention on the means. Don't jump the gun and go to the end. That's okay, but in the larger scheme of things, the work becomes a drudgery. Particularly in my footing, I don't have any personal benefit. Literally, I don't have any personal benefit out of a particular activity. So as a result, I find sometimes that work leads somebody to drudgery. Drudgery means slavery. As if, day in and day out, you keep doing the same thing. What you really want to do, you're not able to engage in. So we artificially put ourselves in kind of a footing, and then you, like an automaton, helplessly, like a cog in the machine, we keep moving around. So this work for work's sake and knowledge for knowledge sake is a wonderful formula, or rather I will say, not a formula, but it's a puzzle that all of us need to work out. And the mental mode is detachment. In both the cases, mental mode is detachment. Asango. And interestingly, there are people who are more attached to the devotional path. They have an easy way out. What they say is, Krishna says that, Mai sarvani karmani sanyasya. So all these actions that you are doing, the fruits of actions, now you dedicate it to me. The moment you dedicate it, hypothecate it to me, then you can stay at rest. You are at peace. Go and work good, giving the action. Why you are doing the action? Because it pleases me. It's of my liking. And another way, I have ordained you to do. These kinds of ideas, they help a lot to stay yoked in action and not really be misled by the apparent attaining and non-attaining of fruits, which may happen, which may not happen. Doesn't matter. But we have to stay motivated throughout the action. And a jnani will do it at the weight of the Atma, and a Bhakta will do at the dictate of the Lord. Two ways are there. But it's a wonderful mechanism, and Sri Krishna solved the problem so easily by putting, in fact, harmony of yoga and the mode of detachment. These are the two messages you get from the Gita. That whatever you do, somebody is doing something, another person is doing something else. Is one greater than the other, one lesser than the other? You look at the round peg in the square hole problem. So crossing them will not work, but appropriately assigning them will work. So whichever path suits an individual, he takes it up. But whichever path he takes, the essential mental mode should be detachment. And that detachment needs to be inculcated in a little way. For instance, see, the woman, a lady in the family way, becoming a mother. For her, the detachment comes very easily because she can put her entire soul for the betterment and the growth of the child, and she does it so selflessly. But indirectly, there is some selfishness in the sense that she is able to do that to her child, but she is not able to do that to the neighbor's child. So there is a separation. But this is a clear indication as how much strength you get by sacrifice. Lot of strength comes in sacrifice. Sacrifice in the sense doing the work with detachment. Sacrifice should always be understood in conjunction with the idea of doing the work with detachment. They never separate these two. I heard during my long time back, I heard somebody that he had invested heavily in stocks, and then that evening or before closing, whenever the trading closes, sometimes they have a fixed time for closing the trading, right? Then all his investment went bonkers. Then he was completely shaken to the roots. That night he slept. He had a black hair. The following morning he woke up with white hair. The entire thing shed the color. All the color he lost. Became white. Stress. Body was not able to take the stress. And the hair lost its melanin. There were a lot of dissociations happening within him. And this was, somewhere I read this. So much of passion, you see, so much of attachment. He has spawned himself. And anything that happens in numbers, 3 becomes 5, he is happy. 5 becomes 2, he is, that is controlling. That is his heartbeat. His heartbeat is given to the stock exchange. We ourselves can feel that. So such a person, he has no peace of mind. Actually, no peace of mind. And this is an extreme indication of attachment. Differential calculus. Differential calculus, rate of change of one variable with respect to the rate of change of another variable, right? My class teacher explained it in a very beautiful way. This stock exchange problem, similarly, another problem, he used to explain this. You see, in Tamil movies, correct? The hero, typically MGR will be there, and then MGR will be tortured to get something out of him. And MGR will be unyielding. He said, "No, you can do whatever, you cut my hand, you take my body, he will be unyielding, not budging at all." Then Ashokan will be the villain there. He said, I know how to get the things out of you. And then he will track the mother inside. And then the mother will be tight. The moment he sees the mother, MGR, you can see, oh, what has happened to you? Total change. A man who was like a rock, now he becomes like a flower. And then everything done to the mother, that variable change brings about the rate of change of variable in the mother brings about a distinct rate of change in the MGR. Differential calculus. Attachment. Because they are related. X and Y are related, so one change brings about a change in the other. So can we stay completely undifferentiated? In differentiated, we have this problem. So detachment gives us the state of undifferentiated.
Regarding this, here you were saying like